All right, welcome back, everybody. And so far, we've got kind of the basic syncing of a multiplayer game going. I'm just going to launch a couple instances here to see where we're at. And we've played around as I mentioned, probably in class, the documentation is just fresh and brand new on Godot multiplayer and the new additions that they've made. So had to tweak a few things and have a look here, but at the moment we should have our host and our join. We can now control our client here, and we can control our host here on the same machine. We can run them on both. You'll notice they jump both pretty smoothly on both of the machines here, and it's great, but this is not much of a game. Um, we want probably to be able to create some other things, maybe have some enemies move around, maybe have some platforms. Obviously, that's all stuff you can do there, but my initial idea was some kind of something like a Bomberman style game. You may want to do a player versus player style game here. You might want to do something co-op or something, but essentially, we're going to need to be able to add new things into our game, and this is a little bit different than you might have done in Godot, and is a little more complicated in the multiplayer world. So let's kind of explore it and have a look. The first thing I wanted to just to point out and how multiplayer is working, at least so far with what we've done, is I want you to notice that we don't really create. Um, we let the server create a lot of new instances. And even when we say host here, you'll notice that we add the player character. But when I press the join button, there is no add player character being called here. This is so the joining does not actually create a new node anywhere. What happens is it sends a signal to the server here where it says the peer has been connected. And then inside the server, we do another add player character. And as we mentioned, that then gets kind of replicated across all of the peers by that multiplayer spawner. So we want to let the server take care of a lot of the creation of things just so that everything can be held in sync and we don't have any weird problems. This is a really powerful idea, especially say if we had an open style game with maybe 10, 20 people, and people could join and leave as we go. If you had a bunch of stuff that were spawned and trying to be tracked by all of the clients, well, how does a new client know what the game state is supposed to be like when they join? So in our creation of our new thing that I want to do today, I want to look at that idea of we're gonna kind of defer to the server to be doing a lot of creation of things. It's the best way I've found to do it so far. So at the moment, I've got a player, and what I want to do is I want to create that Bomberman style thing, just to be able to spawn things. And this could be bullets, this could be bombs, this could be a Minecraft kind of building style activity, whatever you want to do. In your particular multiplayer game, you're always going to want to be able to say create something or spawn things dynamically. So in this moment, I'm going to do a little bomb style deal. So I'm going to make a new scene. I'm going to create a area 2D, area 2D. That's going to be my bomb. This again could be a block for Minecrafty style thing, or where you're building up in a partner co-op style game. Could be a bullet that gets fired, whatever it is here. I'm going to call mine the bomb for the Bomberman. Of course, I need to add a sprite to this so I can see it. And I am really going low budget on the graphics at the moment because I am just going to use the exact same Godot head here, but I'm going to shrink it all down, make it nice and tiny, just plop it back there. And then to that, we're going to add a collision shape just because it needs one. Let's give it the rectangle. There we go. And now I've got this tiny little bomb. Later on, I can put some script on it or something like that. But let's add one more thing just like the player had a multiplayer synchronizer to be able to synchronize its position across with other ones, I am going to create the bomb. When the bomb gets placed, it needs to know where it's gone, or especially if it was being fired like a bullet, it needs to be able to track itself and be the same on all games. So I am going to add a multiplayer synchronizer. And as we did with the player, I'm going to sync a property. And in this case, I want to sync the property of the bomb. And I would like to sync its position wherever I have created it. That needs to get updated during the spawn and during the sync. All right, now I've got a bomb here that I can create. So I'm going to save this scene. Perhaps I'm going to save this scene. Oh, there we go. We'll call it bomb. Awesome, so I've got a little bomb here, and what I want to do is have the player create a bomb when I press B or drop a bomb or something like that, and so I need to make sure under project settings I have created a new action. Let's add a drop bomb action, and I'm going to make that my B key for dropping a bomb. There we go. So in our player, this would be something you've probably done back in your 2D days, or even 3D days when you've created some things here. Just like we've used the existing stuff for the player movement and handling, but we could certainly add anything else to we want here. I'm going to put it first right away, and what I want to do is just say if input dot is action just pressed drop a bomb. There we go. Well, I'm going to create a bomb, and for reasons I'll go into a little bit later here, I'm actually going to make a function rather than have this buried in here. I want to make a function because, again, I would like the server to take care of a lot of this stuff. And at the moment, all this stuff is only being called by the multiplayer authority, who's the local person, the local player. And that's what you want. If I press the B key, I don't want every player to drop a bomb. I only want my player to drop a bomb. So down below here, I'm going to add a new function. Call it function drop a bomb. Perfect. And this you've probably done before, but just as a reminder, we're going to basically load in a file and add it. This is also a Godot 4 slight change, so we can do this all in a single line now. It's quite nice. So I'm going to make a var new bomb, new not mom, new bomb. That equals a preload. I'm going to preload that file, and it's the bomb scene that I would like to create. And then I am going to instance it or instantiate it. Instantiate right there. So in the previous time we might have done it in your 2D, we did this in two different steps. We made a variable, we loaded it, and then we instantiated it. We can now do that in a single line, kind of nice. And we are just kind of creating it into the ether. So at the moment, I want to then add this into my scene tree. Now, I can't add this as a child of player because then as I move the player, the bombs are going to move with it. So I am going to send this to the parent, which is actually the multiplayer node there. So I'm going to get parent, because the parent never moves, it just sits there as the bomb will, dot add child. And I'm going to make a new bomb that we just created. And you may remember as well, now that's probably at the root top left corner where the multiplayer node lives as its origin. I want to move it back to the player's position, so I will say new bomb dot position equals my position. So that's, again, very similar to our 2D world. I'm getting a weird error up here. Oh, because I haven't finished this up here. So if input action is just press drop a bomb, then what I would just do is drop a bomb function. There you go. This would have been how we would have probably created this in a single player game. Now we need to make a couple tweaks to this. So I don't want my player just creating a bomb on them. I want to create it on the server. So this is a problem because this function is just going to be called locally. Now, if I was the server, it would work and it would call there. But if I was a client, it's only going to call this function on the client's machine. And therefore, I don't get a copy on all the other machines here. So we need to introduce a new feature called a remote procedure call. A remote procedure call, or an RPC for short. And an RPC is a way of allowing one computer to call a function on another computer. And it's set up very nicely in Godot here. And in this case, I would like the server to be calling this function. I don't actually want to do it here. I want to call the function here because I'm the one who pressed it, but I want it to be activated only on the server. And then the server can take care of sorting it out and sending out notes to everybody to say, hey, you should drop a bomb. So here's how we do it. We say RPC for a remote procedure call. And in this case, you can make RPCs to everybody if you want. That can be a useful thing for some, especially if you wanted to, I don't know, have some kind of chat feature in your game where you're sending notes to your peers. But in this case, I want to only send this to the server. So I'm going to make an RPC ID function. And you can see what happens here is that the first parameter or argument that gets taken is the peer ID. It should be an integer. Now, the server by default has the peer ID of 1. Everybody else has some random long string of numbers that they get when they get created, but the server is always 1. So that's a handy. I can just say, I want to send 1. Now the method, or in this case a function here, is a string name. So we call it a little bit differently, but it is still drop a bomb, but I essentially just put drop a bomb in quotation marks. There we go. So I've now called this function, but it's going to send the message only to the server. However, we need to set up these functions a little bit differently as well, which to let this function know that it can be an RPC call. So, or it can be called remotely. Just as for security reasons, you don't want any other computer just calling functions on your own. All of your functions, but in this case I've set up one that I specifically want, and we do that with this little annotation above the function. We say at RPC to indicate that this is a remote procedure call. Now there's a couple things we're going to add to this. First of all, anybody in my game can call this. So there's one parameter I'm going to say any peer is allowed to call this. And the second thing we want to add here is that this will probably work well for anyone, but the server gets confused a little bit itself when it says, well, should I create one on my own machine as well? And yes, I would like to call this function on the server machine as well as all the other ones that get replicated. So we have another parameter we call local, which means essentially, yes, execute this on the computer that is calling it. So the server gets a copy of the bomb, I should say, and then any peer can send this out. The server then, of course, through the multiplayer spawner, will create a bunch of bombs, but it's only going to do that if I let it know that it's allowed to. So you may also remember we had a auto spawn list here, and I should have oh, there it is there. There we go. So the player right now gets replicated and auto spawned on different ones. So I need to add to the auto spawn list the bomb scene that says, yes, when bombs are created, I want you to figure out who's supposed to get a bomb, where they are, and when they get deleted, I want you to go and delete them from everybody else's as well. So super handy there. Now, a couple other little minor things to add that I've figured out so far. So when I press the space bar, where my player here, when I press the space bar, or sorry, B key, I am sending a call to the server to tell it to drop a bomb on this player. The server can listen to this from any peer and is going to create one on its own as well. And so we get the drop a bomb. We create the drop a bomb. We get the parent. We add the child, the new bomb. Now, where this starts to get weird is when we are dynamically creating across different machines, the naming convention gets a little weird. So I've got this add child right now, new bomb. Normally it would just be bomb 1, bomb 2, bomb 3, but for some reason, when we do this dynamically, it creates a little @ sign in front of it and names it in a slightly weird way. So we can send a second parameter to add child here. This is the bomb, the thing we're going to create. You see the node. And then the next line is force readable name, which basically means give it a unique good name so that we can then have that the same on all the other machines. And I would like to set that as true. All right. So I think we are about set. Let's see if we've forgotten anything, but I'm going to make sure I'm running 2 multiple instances. Now, when I press the B key, we should be able to get a little bomb appear. It's not going to do anything at the moment, but it should appear at the same place on both machines, and you will have the start of a fantastic opportunity for game design. Let's move these a little closer here. Going to host. We see that gets jumped up here. I'm going to join here. So I am just double checking here. I am the host. There we go. And if I press B, you can see that a little, let me move that guy up so you can see him there. You can see a B appears. Wherever I go, the B appears. Now this is the host so far. So let me try the client, make sure that that one works. And hit B, and you can see, yes, indeed, they have appeared all over the place. And so now you can get whatever you like. Now, if you wanted to say turn that into a bullet, all you'd have to do is simply have the bomb start moving in a particular direction. It's done there. If you wanted this to bomb to explode or something, you could totally add that feature there. In fact, let's just make sure that the spawning and despawning works just fine. In this case, I could put it on the bomb. I might want to add a script to the bomb here. And you could add some kind of explosion animation, but I'll add a little script to this bomb, create, and then I will put a timer on that bomb and auto start. Let's say I'll give it 2 seconds. That timer is going to go off, and then I am going to link up a signal back to the bomb script and simply say when the timer times out, I would like to queue free, like we've done in the past. Again, you could add some kind of explosion animation. You could change the sprite. You could delete the things around you. You can do all sorts of stuff, whatever you like here. Um, let's give that a try again with playing. And see how this works. Again, I am kind of loosely trying to put together several different kinds of documentation here to figure this out from the new Godot. It's still pretty sketchy, but it seems to be working so far. Let's see here. Drop a bomb. You can see in 2 seconds, yes, indeed, it vanishes. Poof, and you could have something like that. Or again, have it move as a bullet. It could injure the other person if you want to do a player versus player. It could just sit there. If it was some kind of co-op building game where you had to, build up something to help you solve the puzzle. So there we go. You can definitely start hopefully making a single level of whatever style multiplayer game you would like to create. And soon let's look at changing levels in our next tutorial.